2, 1. Now we're not going to. Oh, we're live. We're live, James. Lovely to see you. How are you? Looking super smart. Why are you so smart?
I do. I'm almost double booked myself today. So straight after this, I'm going. I've got a call with a client, and we're getting ready to do a big event, hopefully in the start of next year. So I've got my nice togs on today as well. So normally last week I was a bit more relaxed. This week I've tarted myself up a little bit. So yeah, this is what's been happening in your week. How's your week? Before we get into the show, have you had a good week this week?
I'm tired. It's been really busy. I'm really encouraged. So I think, people have embraced virtual now. They've embraced it. They know it's here to stay. They're going for it, and they're wanting value. So it's going well. So actually, we're busy. It's good. I can't get into trouble. Got no time.
No, that's very good. That's very
yeah, I know. Anyway, shall we start? It's 5 o'clock. Shall we do the official? Do you want to do the music? Should we do the music?
Let's do the music. Why don't we? Let's do some music. Let's have some music.
Start some music. Start music. Oh, we're so good, aren't we? We're so professional. We know what's happening.
Professional. That's cool. So this week we have a very special guest, our first ever guest for this weekend event. So I'm super excited to do that. We're always trying different things here as well. Then we're going to be talking about the world of speaker bureaus. And if you're a speaker just now, author, thought leader, influencer, expert, and you want to know how speaker bureaus work or how you can get more work bookings from speaker bureaus, then you're going to love that section as well. And then finally, we'll come to our tool of the week, a thing, an app, a person who Maria and I consider to be our tool of the week. So Maria, do you want to get into our special guest?
Yeah, I was looking at my notes actually because I'd prepared a load of notes about speaker bureaus because otherwise I'll forget. But yes, I'm very excited to have a special guest. We wanted to feature people in the pandemic who are absolutely thriving. So our guest this week is a speaker who has had a great 2019, an even better 2020, but all of this on top of giving birth in January. Our guest is Erica Sosna, and I'm going to bring her into the studio from the green room. Let's see if this works. Hello, Erica.
Heidi ho, Maria.
Heidi,
James, it's lovely to be here and to be your first guestlet. I'm honoured.
Well, and you know what? It's really appropriate because last week we were talking about female speakers and we said, where are all the females? And here is a female speaker. So Erica, tell us a bit about what you do, what your area is, and what's been going on.
Yes, of course. So I specialise in the future world of work and in particular helping people to define their ideal career and to navigate that within the organisations that they are working in. So I have been, this year has been for everyone, an extraordinary year in terms of all kinds of circumstances. And as you mentioned, I also became a mummy about 8 weeks before lockdown. So that was all fun and games to add to the mix. But in terms of work, it's actually been a really interesting year. And I guess it's partly because myself and my team have always had a very strong virtual and digital presence, and we've always been encouraging clients to consider that as an alternative to gathering folks together or across the globe. So I think when it became clear that in order to keep strategy or conference or initiative on the road this year, they were able to come to us already as kind of trusted partners to do things well around virtual and digital. So that's been I'm very grateful, and the team are as well. And it's been a very exciting year and is ramping up to be an even more exciting year next year. So that's fantastic. We're chuffed about that.
So I'm fascinated. Yeah, because I mean, so many speakers have been saying, 2020, this is the year from hell. Like suddenly my calendar dried up. I'm not traveling anymore. I'm kind of flailing about kind of what to try and do. And conferences are people are holding back on conferences and this virtual thing. What's all that about? So what do you attribute to your success in making? We're not going to use the word pivot. Because that word is banned. It's like the Scottish play. But what do you assign to being able to make that transition in this kind of very strange 2020 that we're in just now?
Well, I mean, I think one of the first things to say is that for lots of people who deal with real world, whether it was festivals, conferences, training, facilitation, hospitality, etc., it's been an enormous knock. And I also know a lot of people who've had their calendar planned out pretty well by February, March, and then had that closed down. And of course, that is going to be very discombobulating and disconcerting. I think part of it for me was that I've always had, well, I say always, in the last 10 years, always had a digital and virtual presence to the speaking and the education and facilitation that I do. So it hasn't taken me by surprise, I guess, in terms of different technology that you use, the way that you make things interactive and experiential when you're not all in the same room. And I think people have engaged in a massive learning curve over the year, both in terms of audience and in terms of speakers. And I think that's fantastic. I think, that's to be heralded. But I think it was advantageous that it was just something I was already very used to, and clients knew that as well. I think the other part of it is that, and we were talking earlier about what are the kind of tips and tools that can be useful for speakers to think about in this time, is having a very defined perspective, and in my case, a model for encapsulating really succinctly the key idea of what you do, and that being a kind of easier thing for people to hold on to, remember, and perhaps go viral around if that's your intention. So in my case, I have a model called the career equation, which I have a lot of IP around and tools and tips and tricks, and most of the talks that I do have the equation embedded into it as a key idea. But it's something that I kind of wanted to share because perhaps it would be useful for others to think about in this kind of space that can feel, whoa, what's going, a kind of limbo space, and, to go, okay, let's just look at the kind of subjects, themes, concepts that I've been working with over the last decade or however long it's been, and look at it as though I were going to condense that into one key big idea, and see what that might have in store for you in terms of representing what you do and how you do it, and kind of positioning your work afresh in a way that's really easy and engaging for people to understand.
So that sounds like almost like there's some albums I listen to which I love because you can listen to them on 3 different levels. You can listen to them just at a very top, just kind of you're dancing to them in the kitchen and it's great, and it's an experience that way. And then you can listen a little bit, and then you can listen to the lyrics and you can feel, oh, okay, I get that. And that connects with me in some way. And then you can put your headphones on and really listen, like deep listening to it. And you go, wow, listen to the way that musician did that thing. And so you can, the material is really deep. You can go very deep if you want, or you can stay at like a higher level, kind of quicker level, and communicate that message like very, very quickly.
Yes, I think that's true. I really like the analogy as well of this kind of different levels of engagement. And I guess when you're thinking about attracting the attention of your prospective audience in your niche, in your area of specialty, when we think about people's levels of attention these days online, and our expectation of a kind of speed of comprehension, then exactly that the sort of tip of that iceberg is one simple, compelling, interesting idea that sparks curiosity. The same way that any other good ad or a good piece of social media or provocative headline might do, in order to encourage them to buy the magazine and open up or listen more deeply to the album. So I think that's exactly a great analogy for it. How do you create a kind of headline around your key ideas that allows people to almost know the headline even before they know you?
And as people kind of get to know almost your method, your thing that you were speaking about there, do you worry that you're going to get lots of cover bands coming along and like just playing your stuff and not giving you any credit for it, or like and they get all the credit, but you don't get any credit because it's your intellectual property?
Oh, this is such a good question, isn't it? And how many good covers do you know? Some covers, like Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah is better than the original, right? But I was listening today to a version of a Nina Simone cover, and it was dreadful, right? So, there's a whole spectrum of quality, isn't it? But the question that you're asking really is, are you afraid that if you put out something distinctive and it's got your name attached to it, that people might not take it and run with it elsewhere? And I think this is such an interesting question, and it's a question that often stops people, I think, from being as generous with their IP as they might like to be. But from my perspective, I have a book coming out next year called The Career Equation. So if you took The Career Equation and called it something else, that would be a bit awkward because it's on the front of a book that's coming out with McGraw next year. So that's quite helpful. There is also quite a lot, we got a good lawyer, right? So, there's quite a lot of protection for the intellectual property and the monetization of that. But at the same time, I really want people to understand the equation, to benefit from the equation as an individual as a result of a 2-minute video or less, if I can get it across in less than that time. And I want them to be able to share it with others. So I really want them to have that freedom to enable it to go viral, because actually most of my work comes from people getting the equation, liking the equation, having seen me speak somewhere, then passing it on to somebody else who they thought might be useful, who then picks up the phone and says, I'm organizing an event, or I'm doing something for Careers Week. Can you help us? So you've got to have this kind of balance between, and I was once advised actually to just give your best thing away. Give the best thing that you have for free, give it away. And all the other work that surrounds it is the deepening, it's the listening to the album at a really fundamental level. It's the curiosity people have to know more. And for many people, it will be enough to know what they know from that 2-minute video. And they may well use it in their training, in their workbooks, or, and even without attribution. But it's actually the people who want to go deeper, who have greater interest to me as a client. And as a user, if as a user they go, I listened to that 2-minute video, I did something marvelous with my life as a result of it, I made a shift in my career, and they drop me a line to say that, I'm like, that's amazing. I'm super chuffed about that. I wouldn't dream of suing you.
but Adrian, you mentioned that, you mentioned something there just a second ago, which was putting that trademark, that TM mark, so it's a common mark. It's not a registered trademark, but it's basically a way of saying to the world, this is a thing, which is kind of originated by someone, kind of owned by someone. So I'd love, we've got people joining us just now in the comments. Does anyone else do TMs, trademarks? I think we've probably got some lawyers in here as well, I would imagine, but does anyone TM this stuff? Because I was always told TM as much as you possibly can on your phrases, and you've TM'd the equation and some of the other the sub brands from that as well. Yeah,
so I've actually R'd them.
So this is actually so take us through what do you see as the difference between having that little R symbol and the TM mark? Well,
R is a registered trademark, which means that you've gone through the legal process to say these words said this way, and sometimes even visually appearing this way, are a registered trademark. So they cannot be used elsewhere. I'm not a legal authority, so I'm not sure that I know enough about TM, but I'm guessing that TM is a way of sort of self-noting to say, look, this is a thing that I've made, please don't do that. But whether or not it has sufficient legal weight to challenge around it, I don't know. But the other thing that is important if you have something visual is to have a copyright around the actual image of that thing or that brand or that model that you've designed. So none of these things are infallible. Are people going to take the thing and run with it and not attribute? Sure they are, but you can't let that stop you, because you're really interested in the people who want to take it and work. In my circumstance, I'm interested in the clients and the client organizations who want to take that model and work with it really, really deeply. And actually, we can only take on a few companies of a certain size to do that. So we only need a very small bit of the action, if you like, around it. Yeah.
So talking about that, because I'm sure everyone's going to be really interested in knowing this part. How do you fill your funnel? So you have this really strong intellectual property, but we all know people that can create great intellectual property, great concepts, great speeches, but they have no work. So what are you doing that other people maybe aren't doing?
Sure. And this is a thing whenever, and so I coach people around their careers a lot, and people who are moving into becoming an entrepreneur of any kind, of which I consider a speaker, because a micro business too. I always say to them, you're going to have to spend 80% of your time trying to get the work, and 20% of the time doing that work that you absolutely love, and that there's no getting away. There's no getting away from selling. If you run your own thing, or you represent yourself, you are always selling. So with that in mind, there's lots of things in the funnel. One of the things that I found works really well, and we used to do these in person, and now we also do them virtually, is to have sort of breakfast events. Some of them completely open, anyone can come, although we have a specific audience that we're targeting, everyone is welcome. And some are very a closed event, almost a sort of round table for a specific audience that we want to speak directly to. And in those, I would do effectively a small keynote introducing the key ideas around the equation and what it might be able to do for you as an individual, or for the company, or how it helps you to think about where work is going in the future. And those have been really, really good. So, having a free event and then making sure that you follow up in a quality way that's really helpful to people, with the option to book a call, with the option to send on some more information, or just to keep subscribing with us and to be notified of other classes. I think that's been really useful. I do a lot of video making. I give away a lot of content on Vimeo, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. And another interesting thing that doesn't cost anything but time, I set up a group on Mumsnet. So on Mumsnet, there's a thread called Ask Me Anything. So you could say, for example, I'm a speaker bureau agent, ask me anything. And then people will come and ask you anything, from how much do you earn, to how much do you weigh, to, how should I get into this industry, or whatever they want to ask you. They can really ask you anything. That's the fun of it. And when I was feeding my son in the early months in the middle of the night, I thought it would be fun to keep myself occupied, keep my hand in. And so I built this thread, and it's still running now. And it gives me a huge amount of pleasure to give advice, to these people that I probably never meet and who don't necessarily know my real name and all of that sort of thing. But actually, quite a bit of work has come from that. And things like that. So things like Quora, Reddit, whatever the right forum is for you, that's actually relatively informal communication, but authentic. You can kind of just be who you are and try to be useful in something that you know something about. So that's been really good too.
But that's great, because that's like delivering value in advance. That you're showing your expertise, your brilliance at what you do, delivering a little bit of value. And like, if you like this, you might be interested in this. But even if someone's watching that thread or attending that virtual breakfast meeting, even if they aren't necessarily the decision maker in the conference, they might go back and say to their wife who's organizing a conference, listen, would you, I saw the speaker today, I thought she was really fantastic. Maybe you should think about having her come and speak at your Law Society conference, or whatever the thing may be. So you're kind of spreading that web out there.
Yes, I agree. And I think that's something that anybody can do. Right? And, and of course I did TEDx's, and I've got a whole blog on LinkedIn actually about how to get a TEDx talk. So if anyone's thinking they'd like to do that, I've set it out step by step. But those opportunities to speak for free in front of your audience, I think, are not to be neglected. I know it's a bit of a contentious sometimes, but I find it tremendously. It's a privilege and an opportunity that someone has gathered together my key audience and invites me to connect with them. That's a wonderful opportunity. So if you do get those, to really make the most of those as well.
Now, see, we've
brilliant,
got some good
Erica. That's been absolutely fantastic. We could talk to you all day, but I'm conscious of the fact that it's a half-hour show. So although we'd like to dedicate it all, we're going to thank you for that. Thank you for being so incredibly generous and open, giving us lots of tips. And if anyone wants to connect with you, of course, you're on LinkedIn, so they can find you.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. And there was a lovely little quote here. I've just seen Stephanie Aitken saying, Erica is a class act when it comes to delivering top quality talks and learning experiences. What a beautiful, that's a lovely quote. Caption that one just there.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just look, we've got some other ones here. Would love to know more about TMing, ring. Struggling with someone who copies my move every moment. Yes, I do what that.
I'm sorry about that. I'll stop doing it soon. Okay, I promise.
And Tom Morley, recover bands. The thing is, the cover needn't be that good, but they might have a great manager, better than yours, with less integrity. Okay.
Anyway, so
Moving
James,
swiftly on.
would you like to share who is sponsoring the show?
Yes, because we're about to talk about a topic that kind of relates to their world as well. We have our lovely sponsors for this week in events, which is London Speaker Bureau. London Speaker Bureau are actually the only global speaker bureau. They have bureaus, offices in 18 different countries around the world. They have some amazing speakers on their roster as well. So if you are looking for a keynote speaker to come speak at your next event, or some to do a virtual event, or maybe you're looking for someone to do boardroom advisory, which is another part, a big part of what London Speaker Bureau do, go to londonspeakerbureau.com, londonspeakerbureau.com. They have some great webinars there as well.
Fantastic. So we're talking about bureaus. So the opinions I'm going to express about bureaus are mine. I'm not going to say that they're London Speaker Bureaus, because I'm quite opinionated. I don't know. Did you know that about me, by the way?
No, surely not. Surely not.
So the topic is, how do I get represented on a Speaker Bureau roster? Is that what you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, because it's one of the questions I get so often from our students at Speakers U. And it's a difficult one because it often depends on where they're starting from. So maybe I think it would be good. I should just start with, what is a speaker bureau? Just like on the basics, because sometimes people come and they say, I've got all this stuff going on. I need someone to handle my social media as well. I've got this book coming out and the live speaking, and I'm like, that's not really a bureau that you're looking for. So maybe give us some definitions, Maria, because you've been in this world, you know this world intimately.
I do. I've been here a while. I started young. Not true. So you have bureaus, you have managers, and you have agents. So a bureau really is a matchmaking service. It's a matching a client's requirements with speaker expertise and putting the two together. Bureaus are often a bit like a warehouse. We have a huge selection of speakers that we've curated, we've checked them out, we've made sure that they're of a certain quality, certain standard, and each bureau tends to work in and specialize with different types of maybe different types of clients or different types of speakers. So London Speaker Bureau, for example, are very much in the thought leadership place and space. It's very much about business, politics, economics, finance, future strategy. Those are their that's their sweet spot. There are other bureaus that are more about the entertainment side, or more about MCs and facilitators, and others that will do a bit of everything. So we're all quite different. And then, of course, you have the manager that handles everything, that will manage every aspect for a speaker, and will take a percentage of everything. And then you have an agent who will work with a certain number of people, and that might be their literary agent, or might be their speaking agent who works specifically on speaking, or might be other parts. And then you get all sorts of in-betweens. Because some bureaus will have exclusive speakers where they'll do a lot more for. So it's quite complicated, to be fair.
So okay, I've got that. I've got the speaker bureau, speaker agent, speaker managers. Let's talk about the part of actually just getting represented, getting on that website of that speaker bureau. What are the most common mistakes that you see? Because I'm sure you're getting approached all the time, and I'm sure this is going to be a question. And the question is going to be about. Please leave any questions, because this is a pretty hot topic on this. What are the mistakes that you see speakers making?
So the biggest mistake is that they haven't done any research. So they approach a bureau without knowing what kind of speakers the bureau represents. They don't know if there's a gap that they would fill. They don't know if they're a good fit. And you'll get a speaker that will come to you that is totally the wrong match for you. So you're not going to be able to place them. That's one mistake. I mean, I can give you a whole list. How many would you like?
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay. Another one is where a speaker will actually apply to or contact every single bureau, and they'll contact them all in the same way, and in exactly the same way. They haven't found out, one, are you actually interested in recruiting speakers? Secondly, who should I be contacting? So they might just contact anybody in the bureau, or contact everybody in the bureau. They might not think about timing, if it's the right time to do it as well. They might not be ready. And by that, I mean, speakers might come to you. I had a wonderful one a few years ago where I had a sales speaker came to me and said, I'd like you to represent me. I'd like you to put in your books. And I said, well, how are you doing? How are you getting on with your selling and booking yourself as a speaker? Oh, I haven't been able to book myself as a speaker. Well, so how does that make me feel confident in having you on the books as a sales expert if you can't sell yourself? So you actually have to already be pretty successful. And the best way, James, is for us to come after you, because we want you then, and we want to give you business, for us to come after you because a client has said this speaker's great, or we've seen you, or we've got a gap. That is the very best way. Yeah, it's my favorite way, to be honest.
So there's, you mentioned like a certain level of success. Is that a dollar or pound or a dollar amount that speakers are getting for every speech, or a number of speeches they're getting every year that would make you interested? Or does the topic that they speak on, or does their branding have any their Twitter followers? I don't know. What are the things that you're looking for?
Yeah, so for example, if something's hot, so when the whole topic of blockchain came out, for example, you had to find the experts. So when, immunity and immunology and what's going on now came out, you have to find the experts. So you go after the experts that are needed at the moment, that are totally relevant to what's going on. So those kind of people, or somebody who's done something really amazing and it's in the news and you know about it, they've made a great discovery, they've started something great, then of course you're absolutely interested. And we love people who've had great success in business. We love that. That's always interesting. And of people who are real experts in their subjects, again, is really interesting to us.
So let's imagine a speaker's tick, tick, tick. Yeah, I've got that. And I know this is the right bureau that I'm approaching. What does the ideal approach look like? Is it an email? Is it a call? If it's an email, what's in that email?
I'll tell you my favorite approach. It's what you did very cleverly. So we met at an event and I heard you speak and I loved it. So I'd seen you speak, I knew your content, I thought it was great, and I said, wow, I love it. And what did you do? Go on, tell people what you did. It was very clever. Do you remember?
Give a bureau some business.
You gave me an inquiry. You'd done the deal. Yeah. And you gave me the inquiry. And of course, I'd seen you speak, so I knew, absolutely trusted you. But you see, the very big problem when you start working with a bureau, unless that person is a celebrity and really well known, or has come out of a job and everybody knows them, you have a little bit of a doubt, a bit of reluctance, because you've never worked with that speaker yet. That very first gig with a speaker is really tough. It's hard because you are saying to a client, I'm saying, yes, this is a great speaker and I'm recommending them. But in reality, if you've not worked with them, that's very difficult. And I always say to a client, actually, I haven't worked with this speaker if it's the first time. So it was great for me when you introduced me, because I said, yeah, sure, I'm happy to do the deal.
And here's a little tip, friend. This is the way I've always taken it, is I'll often give bureaus inquiries. Inquiry will come into me. If it's one that's I know is absolutely never going to close, it's never going to happen, I don't bother giving it to a bureau because I don't want to waste their time. But if it's something, this is good, it looks like they probably have a budget, I'll give it to different bureaus, often depending on different things. Sometimes maybe it's the region, or I know they've got particular expertise in this area. They'll do a lot of financial services, for example. But here's what the other reason I'm doing it, so this is from the speaker side now, is I want to see how good they are at closing deals and how good they are at raising my fee and getting me a good fee. Because I've done this before. I've given multiple inquiries and I know that they could get closed and the bureau has fumbled the ball, really. Or they've gone in and they've immediately tried to go down on price. So they've not really thought about the value there, and they've not come from a value standpoint as well. So this is another reason that I think is a good thing to give to different bureaus. It's a way of testing, like who's good, and it's not when we say bureaus. You passed. You absolutely passed. And also, when we say bureaus, it's not just this amorphous blob that is a bureau. It's individual agents. You might get one agent who just doesn't get you as a speaker, but there's another agent who loves your stuff. In which case, you try and really develop and build that relationship.
Yeah, so important. The individual relationship is so important. Absolutely. Gosh, what time it is? We're rapidly running out of time.
Yeah. We probably don't have time to cover it because we were going to talk about how once you've signed up with a bureau, how you develop that relationship. Maybe we'll leave that for another
Maybe we'll do that for
as
another
well.
day. But yeah, we've got to do tool of the week.
Yeah.
We can't miss out tool of the week.
Okay, your tool of the week, Maria.
My tool of the week is Magic Whiteboard. You didn't know about this, did you?
No,
So
no,
this is where you can get. I love this. So when I'm preparing something or doing some work, I take one of these, and this is why I haven't got my beautiful backdrop today. And you can put it on the wall. Can you see?
Yeah,
You
got
put
it.
it on the wall, and then I can write on that. So I can have I got a pen hand? Yes, I suspect I haven't. Yes, I have. So I can write on that, and if I'm preparing a session, on bureaus, I can. There we go. And I can prepare my session and write it, and then not do what I did the other day, where I had a very funny title that I had been given. It was a bit naughty. It had a naughty word in it, and I was prepared. I had my session behind me, and I forgot, and I had to quickly just go like that and remove it.
I have to always wipe down that board because I'm always writing on the board behind me as well. So that's cool. So we're going to put.
I love that. I love that stuff.
I didn't know about the paper they're taking. I knew that you get stuff you could put on the walls, but I didn't realize there was the actual paper available now. So I'll put a link if you go to thisweekinevents.com, enter your email address there, and you'll be able to get the link for that particular product, the link on Amazon. And also it means we'll be able to keep you updated on future episodes as well. So cool.
And your tool?
Okay, I've got it here.
Is it what you were telling me about earlier in the week? Has Alison let you take it?
Then she's let me take it. So this is I do a lot of obviously videos and podcasts, and I had this very nice mic, which is a Blue Yeti, which is a great mic, but I just kind of wanted to go up another level. And so we decided to invest here in the studio on a very, very nice condenser mic. It's German from Berlin. It's a Neumann U87 AI is the brand. If you want this is the microphone
beautiful.
Here.
I want one. I bet that's really expensive.
And that thing behind me there, that's what it sits in. It sits in a cradle, and there's that thing that round it, which is called a halo, and that gets the sound, so you can go in a big room and it can sound quite tight and everything. So that's what this. And the other reason I got it is because it's got a lot of history. This mic, this brand, Frank Sinatra used it for his recordings. Aretha Franklin used it for her recordings. So there's a little bit of history as well in the Neumann brand. So that's a Neumann U87. Once again, we'll put a link in the show notes if you want to go and check out one of these as well. Not inexpensive, but
mine's low budget. Mine's low budget, so you can treat yourself to mine.
That's fine. I have some of my best little microphones are low budget as well. Just do what you can with what you've got.
Fantastic. So we've got Mike Envy here in the notes here. Good work, peeps. Thank you very much. So wonderful. Fantastic. I can't believe that's gone so fast. That was just gold from Erica. That was so wonderful. And you extracted some great value out of her. Thank you, James, for that. Oh, she's popped back up. So let's say goodbye to everybody, and we'll bring Erica in to say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye. I'm going to play you out if I can find my music. I've lost my music. Just talk amongst yourselves, peeps. Talk amongst yourselves. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.